All right, guys, I'm going to show you today how we go from this shot right here, shot in natural light, underexposed, and we turn it into this shot right here, all using just Lightroom. Stick around. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since I posted. I've been busy with this Texas Next Top Model thing. Hopefully we'll get some episodic video up for you soon so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. But I've been shooting with a bunch of models, a lot of models over the past couple months. This is one of them, but this is a shot in Lightroom, severely underexposed. I was exposing actually for the background here. I was getting ready to actually pull out the flash, but how can we in Lightroom, this is the question, the challenge of the day, turn this into this just using Lightroom? No Photoshop, no trickery, none of that, right? So pretty easy. So before we get going, give me a subscribe, give me a like if you're so inclined. Watch the video as far as you can. Get it past, maybe if you can get past 1 minute, that would help the algorithm. Leave a comment if you're so inclined. That also helps quite a bit. I do read them, all 2 of them usually, and I do appreciate it. So let's get going just in Lightroom. So we'll start with this one. I'll do the crop as best I can. 4x5 crop is Instagram. So we'll go up here to the crop tool and we'll change it to 4x5. And we'll come in here and crop just above the knee. Never crop at the joint, kind of a hard and fast rule. Just above the knee right there is probably pretty good. And then I'm going to bring this down about right here and we'll see how that looks. Pretty good. Always look at your horizon line. It may be like a hair off, like maybe we need to, we'll leave it about right there. It's always weird when it goes up higher on one side than the other. All right, so messing with my OCD. So that's a good start. Now I'm using a Sony a7 IV. I'm not sure why I was at 29 millimeters here. I was shooting at 28-75 on the focal length. Usually I would shoot at a longer focal length, especially if I have some room here. So let me just turn off the filter here and I'll show you. They weren't, all my shots weren't like this. I was shooting natural light, right? No flash or anything here. This would be something in prep for flash where I was exposing for the background, right? And then I would flash the subject. If you come over, we'll go over here a little bit. Here's one where, let's see, we got a little bit of flash on her, right? She's happier now. We can see her beautifully. The background is just beautiful, right? I can come over here. Here's this shot here. I can get the background and add some color to it, saturate it a little bit of flash popping on her, really good. But if you're not a flash person, and we started out, it was getting late. It was starting to get dark. So, at some point, let me go back to my shots here. I did go with the flash, but before I did that, I was getting this, and this is why it's so dark. It's almost, she's backlit, right? So we're not getting any light in the front, and it's not ideal. Now, I had another person with a reflector. They disappeared. So no reflection. Ideally, you'd have someone with a reflector or using your own reflector and bounce some of that backlit sunlight back into the model, right? Or turn the model into the light, right? Not directly into the light, but maybe even sideways, to where you get some light on the model's face. So not an ideal lighting situation here for a natural light shot and no reflection, right? But using the Sony a7 IV, I was at ISO 125. 1250. I could have brought the shutter down, which I did actually a couple shots later, and got her a little better exposed. But I mean, the first thing you can do, don't just bring up the exposure. Your first move is going to bring up the shadows, right? And look at that. I can bring up those shadows quite a bit, and I'm going to zoom in and you just look at the dynamic range on this a7 IV. I mean, there is very little. It's a very smooth shot, very little grain there. I mean, just really nice that I can bring up the dynamic range that much, right? So we'll bring up the shadows a little bit, maybe then bring up the exposure, more of the shadows. I was trying to, this is maybe a test shot. I was trying to preserve not blow out the background, right? Because I hate that. I hate natural light shots where they blow out the background. Sometimes it's unavoidable, especially in video if but I don't like it at all. So, and we'll bring up the highlights just a little bit. I want to get her exposed. Forget the background, right? I want to get her properly exposed. And I think to get her properly exposed, I'm going to have to bump up the exposure all the way up to 1.06. The shadows are way up to plus 61, highlights up to plus 23. So, that's a lot. Well, I can't even tell what the white balance is here. I mean, it's 6150 straight out of camera. I think I had it on auto white balance at the time. We can bring the blacks down for sure a little bit and bring the contrast up just a little bit, right? Because we can use some contrast. And I'm really just looking at her right now, not the background. We'll deal with that in a little bit. Bring the vibrance up. I usually bring the vibrance up to like, 18 in the saturation. Sometimes I don't even touch it. But it's hardly doing anything here, right? So what are we going to do about this? We can go down and just for the sharpening, usually bring it up to about 70. Masking, hold down the Alt or Option key. Get your masking just right so that you're sharpening just the parts in white, right? So when I hold down the Alt or Option key, bring the slider over in the masking so only the parts in white are sharpened, right? So pretty good. So it still doesn't look like that though, right? Where's all my color information? Well, let's create a mask on the background. Okay. So we'll click on the mask tool here and we'll click background. And it usually does a really good job of selecting the background, and even got in between her face and the arm there, which sometimes it doesn't do that. And even right here it got, so that's pretty good. So what am I going to do here? Let's I don't know. Let's bring down the blacks. Look at that. Some color data is already starting to come back when we bring down those blacks, especially in the water. Let's bring the contrast up some, just like that. And the saturation, I mean, we could even bring up some saturation in it, right? Just to get some color back into that water. The sky is still kind of blown out, right? So what can we do about that? Well, we can create another mask, right? Come up here. Once you've already created a mask, you got to come up here and do the plus to add another mask, and let's choose select sky. Let's see if we can recover some of that data in the sky. Here it didn't do such a good job right there. So I might want to go to the mask here and choose add with brush. And maybe I can hit Control plus and zoom in, and maybe we come in here and we just add to the mask with a brush right here. Okay, so we got that part filled in pretty good. I don't see really any other parts that are missing, so we've got now the sky. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to choose fit. So now I've got just the sky selected, and the first thing I want to do is maybe bring down the highlights. Okay, we got some there. We can bring them all the way down. It's not bad. I usually don't pull the exposure down, but you see there is data there in the sky. So we'll pull the exposure down. But before I do all that, let me maybe go down here and choose dehaze. Now what dehaze does is it's going to dehaze, but it's also going to saturate too. But it works really well on skies as long as you don't, overdo it. So we've got some of the sky back, right? So let's see how close we are to the other one. So the other one, I feel like it's a little bluer back there and a little more saturated. So let's come back up here. We're still on this sky mask. Let's go to the background mask and pick that one. And let's pick the saturation. Maybe we saturate the background a little bit more. About 51. Now let's deactivate the mask by clicking here. There's no mask up. Let's just bring up the vibrance on the whole shot, right? So now we're going to bring up that vibrance. I never bring it up this high, but I mean the shot was just so originally that I'm having to bring it up, and it's starting to look actually really pretty. We're getting the color back in the rocks and the water, and it's pretty good, right? Again, the other shot, now I think this shot's a little more vibrant than the other one, and the other one is a little bit bluer maybe. So let's bring the white balance maybe down to like 5800. Let's see if I think that's maybe a little too blue. Yeah, maybe we'll go about, let's see what 59 looks like. I still think it's like too blue, so we'll go like 6,000. I'm going to leave it there. Now we could even go for the model herself. We could even do another mask and choose create mask and choose select people. Maybe I want to pop the highlights a little bit on her. So it's going to think about it, and I'm going to select person 1. And I'm going to pick the facial skin and the body skin. And I'm going to choose create mask, and it's actually going to create 2 masks. One is the face and one is the body. Let's start with the body. And I'm going to just pop the highlights on the body. If I bring them all the way over, it just does a little bit. I don't know if I'm real happy with that. Let me go to the face, pop the highlights on the face. We might have to do some dodge and burn, but that looks pretty good. So here is I'm going to hit reset. I'm going to reset everything. So there's the before and there is the after. We got pretty close. You know what else I did on the first one? She looks a little smoother, right? The sky is a little bit, I'm kind of maybe dehazed it a little bit more in the second one. Maybe I'll pull that back in the sky. But going back to what I was going to say, turn off the mask. I went down here to texture and I pulled the texture back to like about 23. And that just has the effect of kind of softening the skin a little bit without bringing the clarity of the image down, right? And I could do some more things like go into the eyes and maybe create a mask there and brighten the, pop the iris a little bit. So if you go to masking, create new mask, select people, person, and let's select the iris and pupil, create mask, and we can just bring up the highlights in the eyes just a little bit, bring up the shadows in the eyes. See, that'll really pop those. You don't want her to look like an alien though, but it's really popping that reflection right there, right? So you want to move out, go to fit on the screen, and see now she's got a little bit more twinkle in the eyes than she did before, right? So if I turn that mask off, so it's real subtle, but it gives her a little pop in the eyes, right? And I did mention dodge and burn. We could do that too. We can create another new mask with a brush, right? And maybe I bring my highlights up a little bit and exposure up a little bit. It might be too much, and I'm just going to maybe paint some highlights on. You can use a mouse, or if I'm using a pen and tablet, but maybe we come in here and we just kind of go in here and we work on these highlights a little bit. We can come over here just like that. I might have done a little too much, but pick the parts where there's actually highlights on the arms, here, right in here. Yeah, see there's highlights there, especially on the legs right here. So maybe we come down here and we can kind of pop these highlights here. Usually I do this in Photoshop, guys, but I haven't done this in Lightroom in a while. Actually, there's some on the arms here. We can kind of pop the highlights here, right? So we'll kind of go out to the original here and we'll turn the mask off. See that? We just kind of, there's on, there's off. So we just kind of pop those highlights a little bit. Now we could do another mask and another brush, and we could do burn, right? So we'll bring the highlights back. It's just the opposite, exposure down and the highlights back. And maybe we come over here and we paste a little, see that darkness in there? And it might be a little bit too much. And we just pick the parts that are kind of darker, right? So that we get some contrast between the lights and the darks, right? Just like that. Maybe come in here a little bit, be real subtle with this. Pretty good, right? So I'm going to turn that mask off. There's with it off, and there's with it on. So a little bit of difference there. I'm going to turn all of disable the masks here. And so we've got a little bit of dodge and burn. Like I said, I usually do that in Photoshop, but you can see now her legs kind of pop with those highlights. That's pretty cool. So I think that's pretty good. If we hit reset, boom, that's where we started. Not good at all. And that's what you can do with just Lightroom. So I could go into that sky. It's a little bit, it's a little bit much. Maybe bring down that dehaze a little bit, you know, make it look a little more believable, something like that. But, it's up to you. Your mileage may vary. You may not like this much saturation. You may like more saturation, completely up to you. All right. So you can do quite a bit with just Lightroom these days. I mean, you can really get by. If you're not into Photoshop, just go with Lightroom. You can do it. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Again, hit the like, leave a comment. If you have any suggestions for me, let me know. And again, thanks for watching.